Hey everybody, Mike Miller, Herald Times, joined by columnist Jeremy Price, coming to you after Indiana's 66-51 loss to Nebraska. It's the third straight loss for Indiana, which is seeing its first real patch of adversity here right now in January. A team that I think that is really feeling both a short bench, I think a lack of contributions outside of Juwan Morgan, Romeo Langford, dealing with a lot of issues right now. Some I think that that are within reach of being able to be fixed, but also some I think are also just maybe I don't know if they're necessarily fatal flaws, but it's definitely a team I think that's being exposed a little bit right now as we get into the middle of the month.
Yeah, that's definitely true, and I think my number one takeaway from this was probably the first time I think in a lot of ways this season that you could say the outcome of a game was unexpected for this team. I mean, by and large, they've done what we expected them to do for the most part. Probably the margin of victory over Marquette was maybe a little surprising, and maybe the loss at Arkansas was a little disappointing. But other than that, I think this team has, by and large, beaten the teams it should beat and lost to the teams you'd expect it to lose to. I mean, I guess if you want to say the loss at Maryland the other night, I mean, that's sort of a toss-up. But, on the road, I don't know that that's any big shocker or anything. But the way they lost tonight to a Nebraska team that basically whipped them coming and going, I think that was probably the most unexpected thing.
Yeah, it was pretty much start to finish. Indiana never led, got behind by as many as 18 points midway through that first half. A pair of 9-0 runs, buried Indiana early. It was, once again, you're dealing with the slow starts, but it was one Indiana never really recovered from. Throughout the season, for much of the first half at least, you've seen a team that has been able to pull itself out from some of these early holes. It's been able to fix some of the things that's hurt it early. Fixing those things on the fly has helped in the second half. They've been able to grit out victories late, make winning plays in big moments, had some clutch performances within. But that's all kind of started with effort. That's all kind of started with want to and just energy, really. And just from the start, this team didn't seem to have it tonight.
Yeah, and you sort of wonder if the way this team has been able to overcome deficits in the past and rally from behind, if it doesn't get to the point where they just assume it's going to happen and maybe you take that for granted a little bit and that contributes to this. I don't know. There's a lot of things going on here. I don't know if it's just the fatigue of the conference season. I don't know if it's, just wearing down of parts and pieces, and maybe it's other teams' increasing familiarity with what this team can and can't do. Obviously, other teams have made the first adjustment to Indiana. Now it's up to Indiana to come up with a response. Although I don't think there are a whole lot of options for this team as it exists to really adjust other than to do what it does and to do it better, which is basically what Archie Miller said post-game as well, because you look over at that bench and Al Durham goes out tonight with an ankle injury in the first half, doesn't return. Who knows what his status is moving forward. We already know that Jerome Hunter's redshirting this season as officially announced tonight. So Indiana needs to bring in shooters or something. Who do you bring in? Evan Fitzner hasn't made a shot this year, literally this year in 2019. And, Zach McRoberts is coming off that back injury, and, he's given the effort that Zach McRoberts always gives, but he doesn't look like Zach McRoberts really by any stretch of the imagination. Robert Finney's coming off that concussion, 2 games back, but he still looks hesitant, I guess, or a little bit uncertain, whatever. Just not back in a rhythm of any sort. And sort of you can kind of go down the line with this team, and it's really easy to find a lot of guys that are struggling, whether they're just not making confident plays, they're not finishing plays, they're not in the right position, they're not hustling back on defense or whatever. There's just a whole lot of little things that are just off right now, and some of them are fixable, some of them, if you don't improve the execution, there's nothing you're going to do any better.
Yeah, and again, going into the depth thing, I mean, it is a team that, I mean, it's just searching for other options right now. It's a team I think we saw, we've seen it at different points use a lineup that is very offensively challenging. You saw tonight, though, I think it was Fitzner, McRoberts, Smith, I want to say maybe, who were the other two on before that?
Green.
It didn't last long. That's
yeah.
It was you had Juwan Morgan with early fouls, and obviously we're not wanting to overextend him, and you gotta wonder a little bit too about Romeo Langford. At some point, he's playing 38 minutes tonight, and you almost kind of fear what waits on the horizon for him in February, having logged as many minutes as he has right now. But besides those two, someone's got to step up. Someone's got to figure it out. I mean, with Evan Fitzner, is a situation where you're just not getting really anything right now. You're not getting rebounds. You're not getting scoring. You're not getting the plays within a game. Even like you said with Zach McRoberts, you're not getting a whole heck of a lot from him right now. Try as he might. I guess one of the bright spots, maybe the only bright spot, maybe was Clifton Moore tonight coming in, spelling Juwan Morgan after he picked up 2 fouls in the first half. Came in and gave you some energy, gave you some effort, gave you just some tough play, some hard-nosed plays that Indiana mostly lacked tonight, right around the rim, getting you a couple rebounds, getting you a trip to the line on an and one. Right there is a player who he's been trying to build confidence. I think he got an uptick with it for this Penn State performance a month ago, but again, maybe he's a player who can maybe build more confidence with his coach and who can maybe extend that bench just a little bit deeper.
Yeah, he's definitely, though, I would agree, the one bright spot tonight, and really he's the only guy that right now you're saying at this time of year, this is where guys that you're trying to bring along where they start to develop and blossom a little bit and find themselves. Well, Clifton Moore is really the only guy that you could put in that category at this point. And that was one of the things that struck me with Jerome Hunter, officially announcing the red shirt. I was watching BTN yesterday, and they were talking about Aaron Henry at Michigan State, who made his first career start yesterday. And, that's a guy, a freshman, who's come along and developed, and that's where you would hope that maybe Jerome Hunter would have been at this point, giving you a guy that's developing and feeling more comfortable and giving you some scoring and giving you some rebounding and giving you some defense and all those things, and that's not there now. Clifton Moore is really the only guy that you've got any hope of really blossoming beyond what you're getting at this point. Deron Davis clearly isn't healthy. He's trying to play, but he has no business being out there right now, it doesn't look like to me. And Fitzner is clearly probably has the biggest crisis of confidence. And he's not the only one, but he clearly has the biggest one right now. A couple of good looks tonight and just really nowhere close to putting the ball in the basket. So, yeah, it's a tough go right now, but, it's not like this Indiana team hasn't won with what it has to this point. There's no reason it can't do it again, but it's going to have to dig a little deeper, well, actually a whole lot deeper than it did tonight, because there was no digging at all, basically, tonight. It was just show up and hope things would work out, and they did not.
Yeah, this is not a must-win game, but it's one of those games you hate to see slip away if you're Indiana, especially considering this 8-game stretch right now where you're seeing 6 games away from Bloomington. From here, they're back on the road. Purdue on Saturday, Northwestern right after that, and even when they come back, they're getting the number 2 team in the country, Michigan here. So you get Nebraska here. Obviously, Nebraska's a very good team. They're potent offensively, and really being able to stop them defensively was going to be one of the keys to doing that tonight. And Indiana was not up to the task on that end either, for as much as they were searching on the offensive end too. But again, you got to be able to defend your home floor. You have the students back tonight. This was a game you really, really couldn't afford to let slip away here on your home floor. Another game, just kind of like that Maryland game on Friday night. It has that potential to be one of those you're looking back on in March and saying, man, how'd that one get away?
Yeah. This could easily snowball to a 5, 6, 7 game losing streak very easily. This game tonight, I'd kind of circled this one as being a critical one for Indiana to win, to kind of keep something positive going on with this team in the face of adversity, because obviously going to Purdue and Northwestern are no bargain. Michigan coming in here, well, we know what Michigan's capable of. So, right now there's not too many games you look at on the schedule and circle as a win by any means, and especially the way this team's playing right now. So, very disappointing. And I guess, if Nebraska comes in here and steals one at the buzzer or something, bummer, but that makes sense. Nebraska's actually a team that's not that different from Indiana, I don't think. Not very deep, but some talent in the starting lineup. They kind of do what they do, and when they do it well, they can be a pretty good team. Tonight, they were the only team that showed up planning to do what they do. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens going forward, because Indiana could really turn things around and snap it around the other direction real quick, or it could keep going south in a hurry.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see what happens. Again, always tough up there in West Lafayette. Indiana's kind of been spared from making the annual trip up there the last few years, but that's back on. Every year now they'll be going up there, and that resumes. Those trips resume on Saturday afternoon, 2 p.m. start. I forget who's broadcasting that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not sure. I'm not going to guess. 2 p.m. start. You got time to find a few days before that. A little bit of another mini bye here for Indiana, which gets. I don't know if this is a much needed layoff, but certainly could use some time to figure some things out because Archie Miller's pushing buttons. They're not always the right ones, it seems, but also I don't think it's just on him. I think some of these guys as well have to kind of look at themselves in the mirror and figure out who they are and what they want to be as the season continues. So that'll do it from here. 66-51 loss to Nebraska. We'll see you up in West Lafayette this weekend.